Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the controversy surrounding the Detroit Become Human Paris Games Week trailer. Now, that particular trailer, for those of you that aren't aware, actually portrays a scene of domestic abuse. This is a scene where one of the androids, which is, again, the whole thing about Detroit Become Human is androids kind of rebelling against their human masters. And this particular scene portrays an android in a domestic abuse situation where there's this parent who is clearly abusing his daughter. He's gonna beat her up with a belt or something, and the android feels compelled to intervene, which goes against her programming. Therefore, it's kind of a bit of a, it's a thing where this android is like rebelling against her masters and basically trying to stop the father from domestically abusing the child. Now, you have multiple options as to how this scene plays out, and there are some of the scenarios that can happen throughout that scene. Those are on the trailer. In some of the scenarios, the child ends up shooting the parent herself. In other scenarios, the android is able to save the child. In other scenarios, the child takes a beating from the father, which is, again, pretty fucked up, domestic abuse, all of that nonsense. So let's talk about the controversy behind it. So apparently some children's campaigners, which I'm not even sure, I'm assuming these are parents and people who are concerned with the safety of children in the UK, as well as a UK member of parliament, have stepped forward, making some pretty negative remarks about that scene and pretty much saying that that scene should not be depicted in video games. And this is where I kind of have to draw the line, because I mean, this is basically censorship. Let's not mince words, which is the same thing that people were talking about when we were talking about the Last of Us trailer, saying this trailer is too violent, this trailer shouldn't be this violent, and all of that other conversation that we've already had for this other game. And ultimately, I don't want to mince words anymore. What these people are saying is essentially censorship. They're saying video games should control themselves in order to not show certain inconvenient realities of things that actually happen in real life. Like, make no mistake, people, domestic abuse is a serious thing. I have very little experience in the matter because I was lucky enough to have really good parents. Now, so I don't have personal experience in the field of domestic abuse, but I don't think the way in which domestic abuse was displayed on that particular trailer to be disrespectful. If anything, it was thought-provoking, it was emotional, and it definitely kind of brought the whole subject to the limelight of domestic abuse. At least that's the way that I see it. That was my interpretation of that trailer. It's like, wow, as someone who is not exposed to this kind of reality on a day-to-day basis, I'm completely unaware that this issue still happens. It still happens. There are still children being abused all throughout the world. So it's like the trailer basically evoked a lot of thought-provoking feelings on me, is what it did. I was like, yeah, this is some fucked up shit, and this kind of shit actually takes place. It actually happens. So if anything, it made me more sensitive to the whole issue, as opposed to trivializing it, as a lot of people are saying. Somehow people are so disrespectful of the medium of video games that to them, this thing showing up on a video game trivializes the situation. Does any of you that watched that trailer felt like that trailer was trivializing domestic abuse? No, it wasn't. I highly doubt anyone did. If anything, yes, you can accuse the trailer of being somewhat sensationalist and trying to cause shock to people into potentially selling the game. That's the whole purpose of a trailer, though. They're trying to sell their video game. Yes, you are correct. However, we do not have the entire context of that scene. We have some context. We know that domestic abuse is taking place and that players are able to influence that domestic abuse in a positive or in a negative way. And it's just, what really bothers me is that a lot of these people that are talking about this issue have zero knowledge of video games. They don't respect video game as an art form. They don't respect video game as a medium for telling stories. I bet you if the exact same thing, if the exact same situation was described in a book by a respectable author, no one would even bat an eye. Shit, that book would probably go on to win multiple awards because it is bringing attention to a subject that requires attention. Same thing if it was a movie. I doubt people would even bat an eye if there was a movie, if that whole thing took place in a movie about domestic abuse. And then there's people saying, oh, there's sick people out in the world that are gonna get off to this kind of shit. Dude, tell you what, there's sick people all over the fucking world, and the fact that this video game exists is not going to change that. In fact, it might actually influence those people to go and get some goddamn help. So it's like, why is it so negative when video games are trying to show certain things that people are uncomfortable with? Video games are evolving as an art form and as a way to tell stories. And people need to start showing video games some goddamn respect. We're not talking about fucking Pac-Man anymore, okay? Some of these video games tell really deep stories and they portray very powerful messages. Take Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, for instance, which is a video game that talks about psychosis and mental illness. Curiously enough, nobody's that interested in that. You wanna know why? Because it's not being published by a big publisher. It's easy to paint a target on a big publisher like Sony. See, that's why they want to go after them. Why do you think nobody batted an eye at Hellblade's portrayal of psychosis and mental illness, yet somehow people go after Sony for The Last of Us 2 and all the violence that is portrayed in there, and Detroit Become Human and the domestic abuse scene? Come on. Double standards? What the fuck? If you're gonna go after someone, you have to go after everyone, not just the ones that somehow cause you some kind of political gain or political benefit, okay? You need to get your goddamn story straight. You need to get your research done. You need to actually go and play some fucking video games before you voice your goddamn opinions on this medium. Like I've said in the past, and it really pisses me off that I have to keep bringing this shit up. Video games are an art form. I don't see nobody going after Leonardo da Vinci for some of the fucked up paintings he might have done. Oh, no, that's all good, because that's art. Nobody goes after Picasso. Nobody goes after, like, Stephen King for some of the fucked up stories. What I'm trying to say is that people do not show video games the same respect that they show other forms of media. And it's about high time people change that fucking point of view. And you better get some goddamn respect, and you better get your fucking facts straight before you come out saying, domestic abuse in video games trivializes it. It doesn't fucking trivialize it. If anything, like I said, it brings it to the limelight and shows us harsh realities that are still happening out there in the world. And if you can't handle that, then don't come out and talk about shit that you don't understand. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.